Alright, so in this video, we're just going to do some more equations involving fractions. There are a lot of little mistakes I've seen on the homework in class when we're dealing with fractions, so I thought I'd make this video, show you some different strategies you can use when there are fractions, and yeah, go from there. Take some notes, maybe just do the problems as I do them. Make sure you understand every step of it and come in with questions. So the first one, 3 over 5 times 5x minus 10 equals 60. So most of your first instincts will be, okay, there's a number in front of a parentheses. Let's use the distributive property. That's fine with me. I'll show you another way to do it after, but sure, let's do the distributive property. So I have to do 3 over 5 times 5. There's two ways that I like to do when I multiply fractions by whole numbers. One is off to the side. I write down 3 over 5 times 5 over 1. You can always write a whole number as a fraction if we number 1. Now, you can just multiply across and then simplify, or I like to cross cancel before I multiply. So then I see that the answer is just 3. So 3 over 5 times 5x is 3x. 3 over 5 times 10 over 1. This is the second part of the distributive property. Cross cancel. 10 to 2, the 5 times 1. And I see that that is 6. So minus 6 equals 60. The other way I like to multiply a fraction by a whole number is to multiply the whole number by the numerator and then divide it by the denominator. So example, 3 over 5 times 5, I would do 5 times 3 is 15, and then divide it by 5 is 3, and then get the same answer. And that, for me, is easier because I can do that in my head. So for the 10, it would be 10 times 30 is 30, divided by 5 is 6. So that's how I like to do it. That's how I did it when I was your age. So if you want to do that, that's fine as well. And now from here, you just have to solve the equation, add 6 to both sides. 3x equals 66. Divide both sides by 3. X equals 22. So that's one way to deal with a fraction. You can just distribute it and just deal with it head on. You can do it off to the side. You can use your calculator, but you need to know how to deal with it. Here's another way. This is kind of more of a trick way, I guess. So you say, okay, I don't want to deal with this fraction, so I'm going to get rid of the fraction before I even start. If you want to get rid of a fraction, you can multiply by the denominator. So I see this fraction 3 over 5. I can multiply it by 5. So if I multiply the left side of the equation by 5, I have to multiply the right side of the equation by 5. What happens on the left side? Well, what happens is the 5 and the denominator of 5 cancel out. So I'm just left with 3 times 5x minus 10 equals 300. Now I can do it normally, I can distribute, I can solve, and I don't have to deal with any fractions. So all I have to do is multiply by the denominator, and the fraction went away. All right, let's look at one more problem. 1/3 x plus 5 equals 5 over 6x minus 2. This is one of those problems where the variables are on both sides of the equation. So if you like to circle the variables before you start, you can see that they're on opposite sides. So what we need to do is move the smaller variable. Now, if you always move the variable from the right side to the left side, that's fine, but you're about to be dealing with negatives. So just keep that in mind. So let's move the smaller variable. So I'm going to do minus 1/3 x from both sides. You have to remember you're subtracting a fraction rules, but 5 over 6x minus 1 over 3x is 3 over 6x minus 2. Add 2 to both sides. And I get 7 equals, I'm going to reduce this 3 over 6, I don't like it. So I'm just going to write 1/2 x. If you leave it, that's fine. And then two ways I could do this. I can either divide both sides by 1/2, or I can just multiply both sides by 2, but let's just divide by 1/2. X equals 14. Now let me show you another way we could have done it. So again, I don't even want to deal with these fractions. I want to get rid of them before I even start. You can do that. Remember, you're allowed to multiply both sides of the equation by a number. What number could I multiply this equation by that would help me get rid of the fractions? And remember the hint I told you. To get rid of a fraction, multiply by the denominator. The problem is there's two denominators. There's a 3 and there's a 6. So you need to multiply by the least common multiple. So I'm going to multiply both sides of the equation by 6. So on the left side of the equation, 6 times 1/3 x is just 2x, and 6 times 5 is plus 30. On the right side of the equation, 6 times 5 over 6x is just 5x, and 6 times -2 is minus 12. Now I just solve minus 2x on both sides. 30 equals 3x minus 12. Add 12 to both sides. 42 equals 3x. Divide both sides by 30. X equals 14. Same answer, but I got rid of the fractions in the first step by multiplying both sides of the equation by 6. So if you have any questions on anything I did, please write them down. Come in with questions. Expect to sit down and have 2 questions similar to these right away, right when class starts. Okay.